Hey friends, Pastor Bill Walden here with Build Up the Church. This is a devotional word for November 21st, 2024, and this is out of the book of James, chapter 5. The last two verses in the book of James are the ending of the book, and the book ends rather abruptly, but it ends with such a strong exhortation, and in my experience, it addresses an issue that many followers of Christ, including myself at times, we neglect to do this thing. James is going to speak here about the idea of the fact that Christians can wander from the truth of Jesus Christ. They can wander from correct doctrine and embrace incorrect doctrine, or they can wander away from following Jesus and having a life as a Christian, and they can backslide, they can turn away. It's interesting, the word wander speaks more of not a deliberate one day to the next day, 180-degree turn, but a gradual drifting. I think it can be difficult for us to seek out those who have drifted away. Some of us don't like confrontation, and we anticipate the worst if we think about going to reach out to somebody, and maybe we think they will say such things such as, well, what business is it of yours? Or I've been gone for a long time and you never called me. I haven't heard from you. Nobody reached out. Any number of objections that we might anticipate that might deter us from reaching out to those who have wandered away from the truth. And yet, here James is telling us it's incredibly important that we do that. And it takes a very deliberate mindset and a very deliberate action. So, New King James Bible, James chapter 5, verse 19, "Brethren, if any among you wanders from the truth," so he's talking to Christians, and he's talking about Christians that wander away from truth. "If anyone among you wanders from the truth and someone turns him back, let him know that he who turns a sinner from the error of his way will save a soul from death and cover a multitude of sins." Let me read it from the New Living Translation. "My dear brothers and sisters, if someone among you wanders away from the truth and is brought back, you can be sure that whoever brings the sinner back from wandering will save that person from death and bring about the forgiveness of many sins." It's a deliberate thing. I think probably within the body of Christ, there are those who are better at it. They are less inclined to be worrisome about the negative response or possible negative response. They're less inclined to be worried about being misunderstood or facing an argument of some sort, or they're just gifted at it and they're good at it. And then there's those within the body of Christ that are not so. And yet here it is, and it's a command and it's an exhortation for all believers to have a mindset of being deliberate about noticing who has wandered away not from the church per se, they may be going to another church, but who have wandered away from the truth, wandered away from Jesus. And we are called to turn a sinner from the error of his way. New Living Translation says, "Bring the sinner back from wandering." And so it calls for a phone call, it calls for an email or a text message. It calls for, perhaps a greeting card or a little note in the mail. It calls for communication. First, we need to be praying for ourselves and for them. We need to be convinced that this is not an option for us, even if we may be uncomfortable doing it. We may reason that there are so many who do want to follow Jesus, and I'm busy with them. I'm trying to help those who want to follow Jesus. Those other people, they're just going to have to figure it out. Well, it doesn't say that, does it? It says that we should seek to turn them back from the error of their ways and turn them back to the truth of Jesus Christ. In so doing, we turn a sinner from the error of his way, and this is pretty heavy, save a soul from death and cover a multitude of sins. What does that mean? Well, some would say, a Christian can never lose his salvation, so it just means maybe will save them from having difficulties in this life. And certainly that can be part of it. Others might say we will help save them from the death of a marriage or the death of a business or a death of a friendship. I could certainly include those things as well. And yet when you look up the word death, it just means death. And so I think all of those things, when we help a person who has wandered away from Jesus, when we help them come back, we are saving them from a multiplicity of bad and deadly consequences. And so we need to be mindful of that, and we need to be motivated with the heart of God to be reaching out to people that we used to have fellowship with, people that we once prayed with, that we once attended church with, that we once served God with, and we haven't seen them for a while, and we're busy taking care of our own lives and taking care of our marriages and our kids and grandkids and our friends and our work and our homes and all those things. It's easy to neglect reaching out to those that just don't seem to care anymore. And yet there is the exhortation for us. So I pray that you'd be moved. Jesus described himself as a good shepherd who's willing to leave the 99 and go look for the lost one. And so that heart is clearly laid out for us regarding Jesus, and may he inspire us and move in our hearts to be like-minded with him. So some things for us to think about, things to pray about, things to follow up with. God bless you.